So I'm in the project. They don't call them sessions here. They call them projects in Reaper, and I'm in the de-esser right now. And by the way, if you want to jump the playhead to the beginning, if you hit the W key, which is next to the Q key, W, it'll just jump it to the beginning. The other thing is I want to make sure my master track is visible. So that way I can see if I'm destroying the bus on the way out. I actually pulled it down a little bit, so it should be good now. And let's listen to this vocal.
Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel. I woke up just in time with chills darting down my spine.
Okay, and there's a little sibilance in there, and that is a side effect of compression. This vocal was compressed, and it has a tendency to bring out sibilance like S's. And one kind of cool thing about Reaper is that you'll notice the waveform is different colors, and it's actually telling us that red right there is telling us that's where some of the sibilance is. So anyways, we're going to insert a, by the way, if you don't have that enabled, you should be able to go up underneath help and type in peaks like I have here. So I'm just going to type it in again, peaks and display settings. Let's see, which one is it? Let's see, display mode, peak display mode. And what we want is actually, we can just scroll down here and show peak spectral peaks. So it's kind of a useful thing. Anyways, I want to insert a compressor, just a compressor here. So I'm going to type in comp, and let me back up. The way I got that is I click on FX and it pops this window open, and then comp. And I want the re-comp, so that one right there. And I want to set this compressor up. One of the cool things about this particular compressor is it has a filter built into the detector. So since a de-esser is basically a compressor that's very sensitive to high frequencies only, we're going to use the high pass and basically let the high frequencies, or actually cut out the low frequencies, and I think somewhere around 58, 62. Let's try that. All this stuff I can leave the same. I want a ratio of, let's try 10 to 1 or close to it. So it's basically a limiter at that point. And the only thing I have to adjust now is the threshold. So let's set that up.
Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel.
I think that's pretty good.
I woke up just in time with chills darting down my spine.
So I think that works pretty good. Let's check out this one section again.
Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, so you want to be careful. You don't want to pull the threshold too far down. Let's see if I do this too far down.
Tonight I fell asleep.
Yeah, so you can hear it really grabbing onto that S sound, so that's too much. Let's get back up here.
Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, so I would say roughly, I don't know, you're looking here, I would say -9 would probably be the most I would go. I would say maybe the release could be a little faster. Let's try that again.
Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel.
Okay, and then without it, I can just bypass it right up here.
Tonight I fell asleep.
Yeah, so that S sound is pretty prominent.
Tonight I fell asleep at the...
Actually, a little less.
Tonight I fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, so you can bypass it also here, which, but we want to leave it on in this case. So that's de-essing. Now I'm going to move to the next project, which is this one here. By the way, you'll probably open these up separately. I have them in a special mode where they're in tabs, which I will show you later. But for right now, you can just close one and then open the other one up. So this one, whoops, I got some stuff here I need to delete. Okay, so now I need to route this down because we're doing the routing that we've been doing for all the delay effects. So I'm just going to double click here and make a new track. And like I've said before, Reaper, one of the nice things about Reaper is a track is a track, and it becomes a MIDI track or an auxiliary or an audio track when you actually put stuff on it. So in this case, it's going to be an aux track. So I'm just going to type in FX because we're going to use it for multiple effects. And I'm going to just route. And if you're not seeing this route thing, you probably have the mixer down here. So let me just show you that in case that happens. So here's the mixer. And it has routing built in here. And we could do it here, but instead, we can either close it here with that little box, if I just click on that, or you can go up to the view and toggle this closed. And that'll make this routing appear here. So I'm going to click and drag down to here, and I'm going to get that little patch cord, and I'm going to route it here. And it's at unity gain. You know what? I think I want this a little bit less. So let's make it around minus 6 decibels. And I'm going to insert a, let's try Flange. And you get two plugins. You get Flange Baby and Flange. And you might think that Flange is the one you want, but you really want Flange Baby. It sounds way better to me. If you want to experiment, you can play with Flange, but I found Flange Baby works. So just double clicked on that to put that in. And basically, let's start with a slow flange here. I'm going to get a lot of comb filtering as I approach 0. So something like that. Under 2 milliseconds. I'm going to make the mix 100% because of our routing. And I'm going to slow, we want to make sure our tempo is, because I didn't set this up to an actual tempo. So I want to pull this all the way down. And I'm going to use the this one and just like really slow. This is like, let's see, 1/3 of a second. Let's see, I can type that in, 0.33. So take, oops, lost that, 0.33. And let's check this out. And again, you can use that W key to jump it to beginning. And the feedback will increase the comb filtering. This is negative feedback. This is positive feedback. And depending on the polarity of the feedback, you're going to get a different type of tonal shift because of the comb filtering is reversed basically at that point. Okay, that's, a built-in flange. That's okay. But I want you guys to know exactly how it's made. So we're going to bypass that. I'm going to add a delay. So I just typed in delay here, and what I want is the redelay right there. Redelay. Whoops. Redelay. And we're going to turn this into a flanger. So the first thing we need to do is pull the dry all the way down. That's basically our mix control, the wet. So we just want the wet at 0 unity. And we'll leave the dry all the way off. I want the musical lengths to be to nothing. And I want this to be about, let's say 3 milliseconds. I'm going to hit enter. And actually, I want to touch this again. So just move that gently. And what I want to do, can I get that to 2.9? Close enough. I'm going to hit the parameter. And it's kind of a cool thing in Reaper. I've never seen this in another DAW, but basically it has a LFO and I can attach it to any parameter in any plugin. So I'm going to, after moving this control, it remembers the last control you moved, and then it assumes you're going to attach the LFO to that. So I'm going to click on parameter and parameter modulation. And I am going to open up the LFO. And right now, it's sweeping through the whole range, which is way beyond a flange. So we want to keep it down to where I set it. So the strength is way too high. 100% is going to swing it through the whole range, and we need it down way low. So I'm going to type in period or point 0. Let's start with 3 and enter. And now you can see it's just moving a little bit, and we can see it's not going beyond about 4 milliseconds. So I'm going to slow down the speed, and let's listen to what that sounds like. So I think that's pretty cool because we can modulate a whole bunch of different things. We can change the shape to triangle, not random, I don't think, but triangle sounds a little different. Sounds kind of cool. Square. Actually, square is probably not that interesting unless we speed it up, maybe? I don't know. Well, maybe square is not the right shape for this thing, so triangle. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to bypass this one, and then I want to do my phase shifter. So I'm going to add, I'm going to type in EQ, and I'm going to insert a re-EQ, so the stock EQ. Double click that. And I want to get rid of all these bands here, so I'm just going to remove band, click it until I get down to one band. And I want to use that all pass. So that's that kind of weird, or at least the first time you come across it's weird, because instead of cutting away, you know, like a high pass or a low pass would do, certain frequency groups, and letting other frequency groups through, this is letting them all through, and it's just doing the phase shift. So I am going to, actually this one is going to be pretty easy, because if I move this control, and then that tells this guy, the parameter, that's the one I want to control. Open this up, turn on the LFO, and actually this gets us really close to a finished phase shifter. And we can play around with the bandwidth control. I think a tighter bandwidth is probably going to make it more apparent. One thing, if you want to, I just realized you can actually see the phase if you hit show phase here, and it's going to show us. So there's the phase. Let me slow it down a little bit. And that phase shift, by the way, is present in almost all EQs. So it's not just something that's on this EQ, but it's on pretty much all, it's actually on all analog EQs and most digital EQs. So it's a side effect of equalization. So this is just taking advantage of that and turning it into an effect. Okay, so that's it.